What's up, everyone? It has been a very long day. We woke up at 6 a.m. to do the Xbox Developer Direct live stream. After that, I recorded my reactions video, did a few things outside of the house, and now we're here recording a second video on Starfield. So I apologize for wearing the reading glasses. I know it reflects off the light and it's annoying to look at, but my eyes are tired and weary. But we're going to push on because I really do want to talk about Starfield. Specifically, Bethesda Game Studios just released the latest update for Starfield. It's actually in Steam beta, and they posted the patch notes for the update as well. So we're not going to go through every single line in these patch notes because there's literally over 100 of them. Bethesda wasn't lying. Specifically, by my count, there's 124 fixes in this update. But we're going to go through some of the main fixes. But first, before that, I do want to talk about the update as a whole and some criticisms that people have pointed out when it comes to this update. I don't just want to cover what I think is cool and exciting. I want to try and be as fair and as balanced as possible in my coverage. And it's not all positive sentiment with regards to this update, and some people are still quite upset. So we're going to cover all of that. And I also want to talk about how Bethesda Game Studios has framed this update, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So if you enjoyed this video, please like it. I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new. But let's start off reading these patch notes. So it is entitled Starfield Update 1.9.47.0 Notes, January 18, 2024, in beta. So it starts off by saying, our latest update is now available in our Steam beta. This update brings over 100 fixes and adjustments, most of which focus on quality of life improvements and quest fixes. So I want to stop there. This is the first big criticism that a lot of people have. Bethesda has described these fixes as quality of life improvements. And I've read through these patch notes several times now. There's barely any quality of life improvements, if at all. And I'm not being ungrateful for this update. I do like this update and how many fixes it provides, but they're mostly bug and quest fixes. There is no quality of life improvement. A quality of life improvement would be, for instance, adding thumbnails to the save files. A quality of life improvement would be providing you a list of your recently visited planets and systems to allow you to easily fast travel, right? Instead of having to go through and find them all individually again. Those are quality of life improvements. And you're going to see this as we go through a lot of these big fixes. A lot of them are just bug fixes. So I don't know why Bethesda Game Studios is framing this update as including a lot of quality of life improvements, because it's just not the case. We might have a different understanding as to what that means. So just a small gripe to start this video off from my side, and I saw other people talking about it. But let's continue. So they say our full list of patch notes is below. We believe we got that pesky asteroid follower this time. So thankfully they got that fix. They go on to say we're grateful for all the feedback we've seen and received, and will continue to monitor and track your issues and critiques. As we noted last year, we'll continue to have a steady stream of updates about every 6 weeks. So if you don't see your issue addressed below, don't lose faith. Keep sharing your feedback and issues so we can do our best to prioritize. It is really good to see them reaffirm that cadence of every 6 weeks. Now, we are going to talk about the size of the update and how many fixes are included, because that's one of the big things people are upset about, or at least some people are upset about. But every 6 weeks to me is still a good cadence, and I'm just glad that they're reaffirming that. So, first of all, I do want to collate a lot of feedback and criticisms that people have posted both on Twitter and also Reddit, mainly of things that haven't been fixed yet. Now, Bethesda Game Studios, they were never going to come out and fix everybody's issues, and they were never going to come out and fix every main issue or even all quest blockers in the game. I was hoping there'd be a bunch of quest block fixes, and there have been, don't get me wrong, but not everybody's issues have been fixed. And to be fair, not a lot of main quest blocking issues have been fixed as well. So let's go through the list of just some of the feedback and criticism that I found. So for instance, @Lamental on Twitter says, the first quest you have to fix is divided loyalties, and you didn't do it. We cannot finish the game because of that bug. I've said this before, quest blockers are just horrible, because what can you do? If it's seriously preventing you from progressing in the game, especially if it's a main quest blocker, it's horrible. Like, all you can do is either start a new game or try and reload an older save file. And how far back do you go before you try and test that quest block again? You know what I mean? So I understand their frustrations, and that's not the only one, so I'll continue. Mr. Sheck says, also, while some support for 32:9 is included, thank you, I see that photo mode is still 16:9. Does that not go without saying? If you add ultra wide support, should that just not transfer over to the photo mode? I agree with that. At Sharks and Island says, come on, fix items sinking into the floors and tables and outposts. Built a few outposts, play stuff down, came back, saw what happened. Haven't been to an outpost since. I can understand the frustration. The next one is a really big one. At Toprak_B on Twitter says, looks like empty ship bug is not fixed. I've seen many people complain about this, that the empty ship bug is still in the game. That's a big one that does need to get addressed. And here's another one that really needs to get addressed from Jimbo on Reddit. No patch for find ECS constant. Big quest blocker. I've seen many people complain about that. You just can't find it. So I'll keep going because like I understand their frustrations. It's not like I've encountered personally a lot of these quest blockers, but just because you don't encounter it doesn't mean other people aren't encountering it. That's how game development works. Some people encounter bugs and other people don't. Some people have a horrible playthrough and other people don't on the exact same hardware nonetheless either. So I'm just going to keep listing these. Neither Amphibian 94 says, still no fix for reloading skills, faster reload being ignored if you have any throwable equipped. Cold Bald Bard says, did I miss it, or is the shield perk bug not on that list? WNJ85 says, still no divided loyalty questline fixes, so will still be unplayable for me. That's the same one that I mentioned before. Chevelitron says, does the fix to corrupting saves relate to the glitch where the game would run out of form IDs, or is that still a problem? I believe that's the issue, where if you keep playing the game without going to New Game Plus, it kind of screws up your save files. Let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong on that, but that's a big one. And then overall, like I've seen a lot of this sentiment, and this is just from one person, but from the _recovery1, I thought it would be bigger than this, given it has been quite a while. It has been a little while. And this, I would say, it feels like, in terms of bug fixes, was probably meant to be Bethesda's biggest yet. I mean, they even described it as their biggest update, their biggest patch yet for Starfield. So this was meant to be the one to start it all. And I don't want to get into an exercise of counting individual fixes, because as you know, each line is completely different. One line or one fix could be the most minor thing in the world, and another could be a huge issue plaguing everyone, huge, game-breaking bug or whatever. Those two aren't equal. So just because it's 124 or over 100, it doesn't mean they're all tiny bugs. A lot of them are small fixes, but some of them are bigger than that. So I think that's not the most useful exercise. However, I have seen people draw comparisons to Baldur's Gate 3. If you go to Baldur's Gate 3, you look at some of their big patches, they're over 1,000 bugs being fixed. Over 1,000 lines. It takes ages for you to scroll through those articles where they have their big patches. Not the hot fixes per se, but the actual big numbered patches. They're huge. They're massive. So how do you expect people to reconcile that when, Bethesda Game Studios, you're a big studio, still over 200 people working on Starfield or whatever it is. How does Larian do that with Baldur's Gate 3, but with you on Starfield, it's only over 100? Again, I think it's not a useful exercise to say 100 versus 1,000, but I can understand where people are coming from and how it's been how many months since launch, and there aren't the craziest amount of bug fixes in here. But I will say this to kind of push back on that. Again, I'm trying to be fair here. They're committing to bug fixes every 6 weeks, right? So if in another 6 weeks we see another over 100 fixes, and another six weeks after that we see another over 100 fixes, I'm fine with that. I just don't think we're ever going to get to the stage where we're having Bethesda Game Studios fix over 1,000 things in an update. They've never worked like that. They've always been a super slow studio when it comes to development and pushing out updates and fixing bugs. For better or for worse, that's just the way that they've always been. And Larian is in a different situation. So it's not apples and oranges here. That's all I'm saying. But I do understand people's frustrations, especially if you're having huge quest blockers not being fixed, because you're like, well, I'll try and play again the next patch. What else am I going to do? I understand your frustrations there. But let's go into the actual fixes and actual improvements that they've made. For instance, in animation, they fixed player characters' eyes remaining closed instead of blinking in the third-person view. I saw this a few times. For creatures and enemies, they fixed incorrectly invisible creatures on some planets. I thought that was a feature. I thought invisible creatures were just a thing and it wasn't a bug, but apparently it was. Apparently that was a bug. It's a feature, not a bug. Crews and companions. For instance, they fixed a possible control lock when talking to a companion without entering a dialogue while simultaneously trying to exit the ship. A lot of control lock issues fixed in this update, which is very good to see. Control lock issues suck. They absolutely suck because oftentimes you don't have a recent save and you're going way back and losing all your progress. So you'll see those come up again if you were to read the full patch notes. By the way, they're in the description below. So some general fixes, for instance, fixed an issue that prevented Windows users saving if their username featured certain characters, specifically on PC. That's good. Here's a bug that isn't fixed yet, and I don't know if anyone knows about this one. I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere. I have this bug where if I have modded save files, right, like I've entered into the console commands or whatever, and you close the game and you made save files in there and you've closed the game and you open it again, it doesn't show your modded save files, at least for me. It'll show my regular save files, but the only way to have those modded save files appear again is if I enter console commands again, save, and then they'll suddenly appear. That's always been an issue for me. I don't know if anyone else has encountered that. Let me know if you have. But continuing, they fixed a rare save game corruptions on PC. They fixed an issue that could lead to a control lock or a crash after loading a quick save while in the targeting mode, so that's good. Graphics, lots of graphics improvements here. This is the one thing that I am giving Bethesda Game Studios props for. I think the improvements, even in the preview images that they showed us, were really good. So number one, improved widescreen support, so 32:9, 21:9, 16:10. But have that transfer over to photo mode, Bethesda. Like, that's a no-brainer. They added support for stars displaying sun disk geometry. Shadows can now be seen on planet rings from planet surface. That is really nice. Improved eyes and skin on crowd characters. Improved reflection on water. Improved contact shadows on character skin, character cloth, and first person. Improved lighting in character generation menu. So a lot of improvements to shadows, to lighting, to reflections. Really nice. I think that's a nice suite of updates. And there were even other updates saying we fixed like lighting at 73 locations. They did not mention those as different lines. Like, that was just one fix. But I like that set of graphics improvements and fixes for the game. So good on you, Bethesda, for that. When it comes to outposts, for instance, they fixed a rare missing terrain issue that could occur after fast traveling to an outpost near New Atlantis. They fixed an issue that could cause bulldoze objects to reappear when returning to an outpost. So things like that they fixed with outposts. But I know that outposts are still a little bit buggy, and overall the biggest issue with outposts is not about the bugs, it's actually about how in-depth it is. It's not even close to comparing to Fallout 76, and it's probably even more light on compared to Fallout 4 as well. Going on to powers, they fixed a rare issue that could cause the phase time power to remain enabled. And then we get to quests and random encounters. As I mentioned, a big part of this update and this Steam beta fix is quests and quest blockers and trying to fix as many quest issues as they could. There are a lot of fixes here, and I want to be clear, even though not everyone's made quest blockers have been fixed, there's been a lot of them fixed. So this is a good thing, but the problem is it also highlights simultaneously that there were a lot of issues with quests that people can't get around because of the issue that I mentioned before. But regardless, it's good. We just need to see more. Every 6 weeks, there needs to be fixes for some of these big quest blockers. But starting off, absolute power, fix missing slate in the safe preventing from completing the optional objective, locate evidence to extort Ayumi Kumiko. Background checks, fix possible control lock that could occur if caught by security. Derelict ship, fix an issue preventing the player from reaching the pilot seat if they did not have access to advanced locks. Drinks on the house, fix rare occurrence where the door to sub 12 could remain locked. Moving on, Eye of the Storm, fix an issue that could cause data transfer to not start after placing the data core. Eye of the Storm again, fix an issue where the docking prompt will be missing on the legacy ship if the player undocked with the legacy and then reloaded a save before having started the mission. Executive level, fix an issue where players could get stuck on a chair in the Ryujin Industries HQ conference room. Failure to communicate, fix an issue that prevented the player from finishing the quest if they downed all members of the Defense Pact. So you get what I mean. There's a lot of things like this, a lot of quest blockers that have been fixed, but not all of them. So we need to see Bethesda continue with this, and I'm not mentioning all of them, by the way. In terms of the sections of this update, quest blockers is probably the biggest one. Just how many little things that they fix, it has been good, but it's just not everything and not everyone is happy. Going on, ships and ship customization, they fixed another case that could cause an asteroid to follow a ship in space. I know that was a big one, so good on them for fixing it. And for instance, they fixed ship hatch being marked inaccessible after swapping to a new home ship. When it comes to skills, a couple of skills have been fixed. So for instance, rejuvenation, the rejuvenation skill VFX no longer replays whenever the hand scanner is open in third person. And when it comes to weapons and items, so they fixed incorrect reload amounts that could occur when consuming a trauma pack. They fixed FOV and zoom issues with weapon scopes, etc, etc. As I said, I'm not going to go through every single fix in this update. You can read them in the description below. But I do want to close on this, okay? I'm not trying to defend the company here. I'm trying to be as fair as possible in this coverage. I appreciate this update. I appreciate the number of fixes in there. I appreciate all those quest blockers being fixed as well, especially. And I feel for the players that don't have their specific quest blockers actually fixed. That's a tongue twister. I kept getting stumbled on that. But I just wish, yes, there would be more fixes, all right? I wish they could be more frequent, and I wish everyone's issues could be resolved literally within months of launch. Sometimes that doesn't happen. It is how Bethesda Game Studios operates, but that's not always excusable. And what I would really like to see moving forward from Bethesda is, yeah, if you've said, and I'm not doubting them on this, they've said this numerous times now, but every 6 weeks, that's when updates are coming. Really, really good to see. But what I would really want them to take more of a look at is, if you go on Twitter, if you go on Reddit, there are people posting the same big bugs constantly and tons of likes, tons of upvotes. And the Bethesda's like, oh, can you just submit that to our support or to the Discord? Like, you should also be reading those without someone needed to be relaying that information in a Discord or, you know, a support ticket or whatever it might be, right? That should just be seen and addressed as soon as you can, because it's just, to me, it's not, how do I word this? When you're telling a player you have this big issue, can you just submit the feedback? And then the player comes back and says, I've been submitting this issue since October and I saw one person with this thing. What does that tell them? Like, what you should be saying is, we've seen your issue, no need to report it further, we're working on it, right? That to me is much more effective. That to me makes people feel a little bit better than, hey, just report it to this thing and you don't know whether it's going to get fixed or not. It's like, it feels like an ether when you submit a support ticket. It feels like it goes into nowhere when you're talking in their Discord, right? Because there's so many other people talking as well. So all I'm saying is, I appreciate this update. I really appreciate in particular the graphics improvements. A lot of them I didn't expect, so it's really good to see. And still over 100 fixes. Yeah, 100 versus 1,000. I don't like that exercise. I still think it's a decent update, and maybe they shouldn't have described it as their biggest update ever, because then when you read the update notes and the patch notes, it feels a little bit underwhelming, but I still appreciate it for how many fixes were included. However, there's a lot of stuff that still need to be fixed in Starfield, and that, of course, there are people saying that not all the issues in the game are bugs, right? There are deeper gameplay issues, and then we can talk about the quality of life stuff as well. There are a lot of quality of life features and fixes that mods are already out for, but Bethesda Game Studios should also look to improve those or add those as well. And describing this update as including all these quality of life improvements when they're clearly not, it's just a weird dissonance. It didn't make sense to me. But anyways, I'm tired, I'm rambling. I tried to be fair. I really tried to be balanced in this video. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. And until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourselves, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.